I was born and adopted in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I was raised in Yonkers, New York. My hobbies are drawing, photography, makeup, and using Photoshop. My favorite movie is The Emperor's New Groove because even though it's a kid's movie, it's still very funny and brings a lot of laughter. My favorite kind of music is metal and acoustic punk. My favorite artists are Asking Alexandria and See We Can Fly because they calm me down a lot and help me a lot over time. My love for animals started when I was very little. They helped me overcome my anxiety and they helped me overcome small obstacles such as answering a phone call or studying for our final exam.
I think Grace was born with a passion for animals. It was just something innate inside of her. We adopted her when she was 9 months old, and from the moment we met her, all she was interested in is anything on all fours. It's just inside of her. Maybe her biological parents had it, we'll never know, but it's just a part of who she is.
I think Grace's passion for animals comes from them being calming and them not raising their voices or yelling at her, correcting her, telling her what to do. I think Grace forms a special bond with animals by the sort of relaxed state that they can be in, by petting a dog, petting a cat, patting your leg softly to tell them to come. I feel like Grace is more comfortable with animals.
I have absolutely no idea where Grace's passion for animals comes from. There is no one else in the family that has any interest in animals, and Grace has an interest in all animals. I believe it's something that she was just born with, and I don't think that you can really track one specific experience that brought her to animals.
My job has helped me with my anxiety because I'm always on my feet during the day, and dogs are known to be very therapeutic.
Absolutely, Grace's love of animals has helped her with her anxieties. When she's engaged with an animal, she is calmer, more at peace. She's a big cuddler with them. She is just a completely different person than when she's with family or friends or engaged in any other activity. She loves to cuddle with them. She plays with them, even if it's a reptile.
I do think by Grace loving animals has helped her with her anxiety a lot. I think about one experience we had where our parents sat down, Grace, our sister Sally Ann, and myself, to talk about their future and how it would eventually affect us one day. And it was nerve-wracking and everybody was anxious, and I remember Gracie picked up our dog, Maple, and held her the whole time and sat with her. And I remember looking at Grace and Maple and thinking, this is why we have the dog. This is her outlet, this is her calming state.
I do think Grace's love of animals has helped her with her anxiety because the animals seem to calm her down. When she's tense and she goes to the animals, the next time you see her, she is more relaxed. They bring her peace.
My first pet was my Abyssinian guinea pig named Snuggles. He was black, brown, and white. He did die because he became deaf, blind, and he was just old. My favorite pet is my lizard Rex because I got him when he was less than a month old, and just having that responsibility to raise him gives me motivation. So I originally wanted a leopard gecko first, but I learned that they hiss and they don't like to be handled, so I researched and found out that bearded dragons act like puppies, so I got Rex. My dream pet is either a Rottweiler or a Doberman because they are known to be aggressive and frightening, but with my job, I've learned that they're one of the most easygoing breeds I've encountered.
Grace absolutely played with toy animals growing up. Didn't matter if they were stuffed animals or hard animals. She was always playing with them and making the sounds that the animal makes. And she has a sister who's a year younger than her. So we had a lot of baby dolls and a lot of Barbie doll houses. And Grace would be putting the animals in the Barbie doll houses instead of putting the regular figurines in there. So there was a lot of argument between she and her sister about whether or not a horse can live in a Barbie doll house.
Grace always played with animals. She had little hard animals that we used to play with on the windowsill. Whenever we went out with our aunt, she always bought a stuffed animal. She used to run around like an animal. The games online, she'd be an animal. So every aspect of her playtime had something to do with an animal, for sure.
Grace's favorite toys were animals growing up, stuffed animals. She had a stuffed animal from the moment I knew her. She had a very large Wilbur the pig that at the time was as big as Grace, and she used to drag that around with her. She had stuffed bears, she had stuffed everything. When she came to our house to play, when she was leaving, she would be dragging her cousin's stuffed animals along with her, saying, I take, I take, I take.
She always made up stories that involved animals. She used to gallop on all fours and make a whinny sound like a horse, or she would trot around like a dog and make dog sounds. It was quite entertaining. I kind of regret that we never took film of it because it went on for years and years, but she was always, just playing with the animals.
When Grace was younger, she loved to do anything animal related. She used to get on her hands and her feet and run. And I mean run as a dog or as a horse. A lion, I seem to remember, because she'd knock me down and roar in my face. She would growl. So taking the form of many different animals and running around. Also, she would play any video game, animal related. She'd have stuffed animals or hard animals. She always did something with animals.
Grace liked to play anything that involved being outside. She liked to be on the swing, the bike, the scooter. She liked speed, but she liked to be outside. She wasn't one who wanted to stay inside and play a board game. When she was outside, she liked to dig in the dirt. She liked to turn over rocks. She liked to look for snails or worms, anything that was outside.
Grace is a child who's always very busy. She was very interested in everything. She was an oral baby. Whatever she could get her hands on, she stuck in her mouth, which was very frustrating and scary. She always played with animals as a baby. As she grew, she was either in the snow or on the swing or climbing something or wanting to go somewhere. She was just interested in doing a lot of different things, and she's still that way. She, is still talking about, grown-up things like jumping out of planes and living in Florida and moving to Australia. That's another one. She's, got varied interests.
Grace as a child was a lot like Grace is as an adult. She's very quiet. She doesn't talk a lot. She doesn't seek people out. She's not somebody who comes in and gives you a big hi and a hello and a hug. And as a child, what I remember about her was she was and is a lot like my late husband. Very quiet, but with a lot of interests. And when she would be together with the family, she did not say hello to anyone except my late husband, who she called Bubba. She would seek him out, go over to him, put her hand on his arm and say, "Hey, Bubba." And then he'd say, "Hey, Grace." And then she would turn and walk away. And that was her closest connection.
I have many, many memories of Grace with animals, both alive and stuff. I'll talk about one memory I have. The family was visiting my sister-in-law in Oklahoma, and my sister-in-law had a cat. At the time, Grace was about 3 or 4 years old, and she kept chasing the cat all over the house and poking at it and trying to hug it and pulling, but mostly pulling its tail. And we kept warning her that the cat was going to react and leave the cat alone, leave the cat alone, leave the cat alone, and she didn't. So she wound up walking into the living room crying her eyes out because the cat scratched her whole face. So her playfulness with the cat was a little different after that.
My favorite memory of Grace with animals was on the big family vacation every summer down at the ocean. We would spend a week at the beach each year, and Grace would go down to the water, fill a bucket with water, and then she would start digging for crabs, sand crabs. And she would put the sand crabs in the water, and she would pet them first, and she would look at them and talk to them, and then lower them into the water. She was always turning over seashells, trying to see if anybody was inside of them, while other people would look at a dead horseshoe crab at the beach and say, ew. Grace was definitely interested to see what had been going on underneath that shell.
I wanted a turtle as a pet because I read that they're very friendly and easy to take care of. Turns out they're very mean and they take a lot of time to take care of. The most fun part of taking care of my pets would have to be socializing with them. My turtles don't like to be handled, so I'll play with them through the glass, but my lizard acts like a puppy and he'll give me kisses. The hardest part of taking care of my pets would have to be the cleaning process. The turtles take about 2 hours to clean and my fish take about an hour and a half. I had interaction with my neighbors' cats and dogs until my parents gave me my first guinea pig for my 16th birthday.
There was only one time that Grace got to watch somebody else's pet while they were on vacation. The family behind us went away and they had an indoor cat, and she would go over and feed the cat and socialize with the cat so it wasn't lonely. She was probably around 15 when that happened, so she didn't really get much of an opportunity to watch other people's pets.
I believe Grace only watched our neighbor's cat one time. I know she would have loved to watch a lot more animals, but she just didn't have the opportunity.
Grace is absolutely ecstatic when she comes home from work. She's kind of a quiet person, doesn't have a lot to say, but when she comes home from work, she tells me all about the animals. She shows me pictures and videos. She shows me the scratches on her arms from the dogs, but she never complains about going to work. She always goes into work early. She's always happy when she comes home. It's an absolute pleasure to see how much she loves her work.
Grace is very happy when she comes home from work, and it's exciting to see, especially knowing what she's like when she works at a job she doesn't like specifically just working with people and saying how this customer and this boss and this coworker, but this job, she comes home, she says, oh, look what dog I worked with today, and then talking about the customer service aspect and dealing with the dog's owners. So it's fun to see her not only love the dog aspect, but be involved in the whole part of her job.
Oh, she talks about each of the individual animals that she works with. She tells me their names, the type of breed they are. I know nothing about animals. I never know until she shows me the picture. If it's a big dog, a small dog, if it has nasty teeth, I don't know until I see the picture. She talks about their personalities and how difficult it is to get the bigger dogs up on the table for the baths, and how they each have their own personalities, how cute some of them are or how nasty some of them are. She talks about them as if she's a preschool teacher and they are her students, and she gives them a real personality.
When I catch Grace just walking in from work and she is eager to tell us all her stories about her day, it's mostly of what kind of dogs she worked on, big, small, ugly, cute, although they're all cute to her. And just the other day she was showing my mom and I a dog scratched her on her arm, and then her dealing with the dog, her telling her manager, her telling the owner. So different stories about every aspect of her job, and she seems excited about telling all of them, not just working with the dog, but working with her co-workers, working with the owners. So I think she overall really enjoys everything about her job now.
Every time Grace comes home from work, she shows me pictures of the animals that she groomed. She tells me stories about them. She'll tell me, if they were knotted or if they were filthy or if they were difficult to deal with. But there's always a picture or a video that goes along with the story.
All the time, Grace is always showing pictures of animals. She'll come into my room randomly one day and late at night and she'll be like, oh look, how cute. And it's this massive dog with slobber coming out of his mouth. And oh yeah, Grace, that's cute. But it's nice to see that she loves every dog.
My favorite dog to groom is a golden retriever because they're very laid back and friendly, and they let me practice my grooming skills more than a short-haired dog would because of the length in hair.
I do not have a passion for animals at all. I've learned to like some animals as a result of Grace's passion. When she has them, she'll teach me about them, so I'm a little interested in them, but if I had my druthers, there'd be no animals in this house.
I do not have the same passion for animals as Grace does. We're very different people. We were always told we were different people. I was louder, she was quieter, and I enjoyed glamour more. She enjoyed animals.
I do not have any passion for animals. In fact, if I could stay away from animals, I would do that to the best of my ability.
I don't think I would go into cosmetology school because I did teach myself makeup and I can always look up the measurements for makeup. I started to become interested in makeup because of my friends in freshman year of high school. I started off very badly and then I progressed since, and now I can do my own fake lashes.
Grace is good at makeup. I think she does a fine job on herself. She has a more dramatic look than the rest of the family has, but it's got to do with her style and her interests. She came to it late. Her sister was involved in it much earlier than she was, and she used to say to us, I'm not a girly girl like the rest of you. I don't want to do that. But when she got into it, she was good at it.
When Grace first started getting into makeup, I was really shocked because she always had more of a relaxed look, more tomboy-ish, and she loved animals and wasn't a girly girl like I was. She became very good at it, and she has extravagant going out makeup with big lashes and pretty colors on her eyes. But I fell behind, so I would find myself going into her room and watching her sometimes, invited or not, but I would watch her because she was pretty good at makeup.
I think Grace is good at putting makeup on and changing her look. I think what she enjoys about makeup is it makes her look different, and Grace is always looking for a way to do something that's different. It's why she has so many different interests and hobbies, and I think that the makeup allows her to have a lot of different looks.
My favorite makeup look is having natural brows, concealer, small eyeliner wing, and mascara. My favorite makeup product I use is my Gimme Brow Plus because it makes my thin eyebrows look more full and it helps them grow faster.
One time I was having a little emo phase, and where better to go than to my emo sister to kind of get some tips. I was doing green eyeshadow mixing into a blue color, which is right up Gracie's alley, and I remember walking in and asking, does this look good, constantly after each time I put a little bit of makeup on, and her eventually showing me how to do a winged eyeliner.
Grace's mother is not a big fan of her dyeing her hair different colors. I don't think she should be a robin's egg blue or a raspberry red, or there's this white thing that she did one time. I'm not a fan. I don't think it's flattering, and I think she's a beautiful girl all by herself, and she doesn't need to be constantly changing her look. It's damaging to her hair. It's ugly. Her mother hates it.
Originally, when my sister Grace started dyeing her hair crazy colors, I was more conservative. And I was younger and I was against it, and I thought, oh, this is different. People are going to look at you differently. Are you sure you want that? Especially since she's a quieter person who doesn't like confrontation. But I think she really rocked it. I mean, there are a bunch of colors she would test out that weren't as good as some other colors, but I admire her for having different colored hair and kind of setting her own vibe.
I think the crazy colors give Grace a chance to explore different looks. I would say that the funniest crazy color was blue when we were on a beach vacation, and each time that she went swimming in the ocean, when she came back up, she had blue dye running down her entire body.
If you're going to make me pick a favorite, my favorite hair color was gray. When she first said she was going to do it, I couldn't understand why she would want to be gray. She's a young person, you know, that's kind of associated with old people. But it was flattering to her. I didn't hate it, and it didn't last long, probably because I said I was okay with it.
She has done many different colors. At one point she did a bright red, so she looked like ketchup, and then right afterwards she did a bright yellow. And think about your color wheel switching really quickly. It was crazy. So she'd get things like, oh, you look like McDonald's French fries, and different comments like that. But my favorite would be the most recent hairstyle she chose. So she stepped away from the crazy colors and she has dreads in. And when she told me, again, my little conservative self, I was, no, don't do that to your hair. But she asked me to help her braid them in, and I'm no expert, but we had a really good time doing it, and then I saw how happy it made her afterwards, so I enjoy seeing them on her because it reminds me of a good time putting them in.
My favorite of the hair colors was rose gold. I liked that one the best because Grace has blue eyes, but not just blue eyes. They're such a dark blue, her eyes, that they're almost navy blue, and I thought that the rose gold hair really brought out how dark her eyes are.
My favorite makeup artist is a girl I know through social media named Kenzie. She gives me inspiration to do different looks. I would prefer to work in a smaller salon only because you can make bonds with certain customers and you would probably get more tips.
I think Grace should pursue a career in the vet tech. I think she connects more passionately with the animals than she would with doing hair and makeup for people. People can be critical, and whereas animals are mostly loving, and I think that it's a better fit for her.
I think Gracie should choose a career as a vet tech because she's always loved animals. She's had a great connection with so many different animals that she has met, and it's always been her passion, always been her safe place and her comfort. As talented as she is at doing her makeup and her hair, she always seems to do very dramatic looks, which to me changes her appearance completely, and it's fun, but I think animals is truly in her genes and embedded in her heart, and I think that's something she'll never step away from, and she loves it, so why not do it for the rest of your life?
I think Grace should pursue a career as a vet tech. The reason I think that that would be a better career for Grace is in cosmetology, she's going to have to deal with humans, and humans complain. Animals do not complain. Grace has a very sensitive heart, and I don't think that she could take the criticism that human beings would dish out to her at certain times. Animals are just going to appreciate her and lick her.
I think it does. I think most people don't have the passion that she has. Most people at this age may be interested in music or dancing, going out with friends, but hers is a different kind of a passion, and I think anybody who's different is more interesting.
I do think Grace's passion in loving animals does make her more interesting. I think anyone having a passion makes them interesting. I personally don't see what she sees in animals, but it's a big part of who she is.
I think all of Grace's passions make her more interesting, but the passion for the animals is especially interesting because it's all animals. Right now she has a bearded dragon, which is something that I have only ever seen on a television program, and it's very interesting to see her with the bearded dragon.
I think that Grace's interest in animals has influenced her in making her career choice. She, since the day we met, she has been interested in real animals, stuffed animals, hard animals, and I think it was just a natural progression for her to choose the career of vet tech.
I think that Grace's interest in animals has helped her to come out of her shell. She was a very shy child, and the animals help her to experience the real world.
I think having an interest in animals has helped Grace become the person she is, because she's studying to be a vet tech now, and she's also working with animals, bathing them. She wants to be a groomer and then a vet tech.
I wanted to be a vet tech since I was very little in kindergarten playing with the toy dinosaurs. The positives of doing this on online college would be that it's at my own pace and that the time limit can be faster.
Grace is currently enrolled in dog grooming school and is also currently studying to be a vet tech.